to Greenbank Farm. Greenbank Farm is our home, and we're in the ancient village of Cartmel in the south of the Lake District National Park and UNESCO World Heritage Site in the north of England. We consider ourselves really lucky to live here, and later in the video I'll explain why. But first of all, let me tell you a little bit about the farm's history and how we're managing to survive in today's world. In 1786, William Yates, a North of England cartographer, published a map showing the village of Cartmel as the most significant settlement in the area, due to the Priory Church, which was founded in 1190. The area around Cartmel included settlements such as Ainsome, Wood Broughton, Hampsfield Hall and Greenbank. These were the most notable houses in the area. As was the practice at that time, some of the larger houses took their names from their location. Hence, Greenbank became Greenbank, and today that original house is now known as Greenbank Farm. The buildings on the farm are traditional stone-built buildings in the Lakeland style, built with sandstone and slate. The buildings are Grade 2 listed and include a 7-bedroom farmhouse built in the mid-17th century. In fact, there's the date of 1663 above the front door with the initials MRS. We know the initials to be of the Michelsons, who lived at Greenbank Farm around this time. Attached to the house is an old derelict cattle shed called a shippen in Old English, as well as a large agricultural barn, which is shown on a map dated 1785, so we know they date before this time. We also have 4 additional barns in varying conditions of disrepair, including a traditionally stone-built bullpen. This is one of the only remaining ones in the county of Cumbria. We also have a 2-bedroom cottage. An early reference to Greenbank is found in the letters patent of Charles I. Letters patent were a type of legal document in the form of a published written order, which in this case detailed who the local and surrounding Cartmel land was granted to in 1640. So it's fair to assume that a dwelling existed at Greenbank Farm before 1640. And the architecture of the farmhouse gives us some clues. For example, the roof beams show signs of reuse from an earlier period, with cutouts indicating that an A-framed house, possibly one using crook beams, originally stood on the site. The initials behind me, just here, match those of Robert and Susanna Michelson. Parish records show that Edward Michelson of Greenbank, Robert's father, was buried on November the 14th, 1663. This date stone could perhaps commemorate Robert's inheritance or his marriage. Our great-great-grandfather George Dixon purchased Greenbank Farm in 1914, and his son, Major Tom Dixon, established a much-renowned dairy and beef herd, as well as successfully breeding thoroughbred racehorses here up until 1962. As some of you may know, Cartmel has one of the smallest racecourses in the UK. The farm was then tenanted for 2 generations of the local Martin family, who were farmers, and it remained a dairy farm and cattle producer until the year 2000. Some of the original features we have here in the house include this wonderful oak room divider. This is replicated upstairs. Now, these are planks of oak that have been hand carved with 2 tram lines either side. Beautifully done and well worth displaying. Behind me here we have a stone fireplace. I believe it's sandstone, and it has a later insert of red brick. In this room you can see the original fireplace which has been exposed, and what we assume was a bread oven next to it. The farmhouse is literally built into the side of a hill, which can be seen here in our downstairs cloakroom. Here we have the original staircase made of oak and wood panelling. It needs a little bit of attention, but it's very similar, interestingly, to another house in Cartmel Village. So I suspect the same carpenter made both staircases. As you come up the stairs, you come across a framed set of jockey silks. This set belonged to our great-grandfather and are the colours worn by several jockeys that raced horses that Dad owned over his lifetime. In the picture is Autumn Cover racing as number 13 in the Jubilee Handicap in 1997 at Kempton Park Racecourse, where he won the race. Here at the top of the stairs you will find a framed document from 1723 titled A True Inventory of All the Goods and Chattels of Thomas Michelson, late of Greenbank. It mentions both old and new kitchens and rooms, as well as cows, sheep and horses. We've retained many of the original bedroom doors, and here you can see hand-forged door brackets which hook onto wall hinges, just like farm gates do today. In the background here you can see a large L-shaped traditional barn. We call this the top barn. It's a continuation from the house, the shippen attached to the house, and a small roof structure which joins all the buildings together. It appears that this barn was the first to be built, as you can still see vertical slits in the walls which were called arrow loops, also known as loop windows or loopholes. Basically windows, originally used to see who was outside and used for defence. Like the farmhouse, the roofs have diminishing courses of slate roof tiles. However, as this has always been an agricultural building, you can find the tiles are held together underneath with lime mortar. Up until around the year 2000, the barns were used to house cattle, and you can still see the wooden floors have an interesting history of patch repairs using old wooden doors. And the oak floor planks are wonderfully wide, indicating their age, as more modern floors generally have narrower, slimmer planks. Also, like the farmhouse, the barn is built into the rocky hillside. Today, one side of the barn is used for 3 stables and the rest is used for storage. The ground floor of the top barn is in original condition, with its low beamed ceilings tenuously holding up the top barn floors above. Mostly used for shaving storage and my collection of wood. I have difficulty throwing wood away. Joined onto this building is a later addition which was used originally as stables. In this picture you can see our father, Sandy Alexander, a young boy, 6 years old, with his grandfather Major Dixon. He was saying hello to one of his racehorses. Dad's passion for horse racing started early and continued throughout his life. He never rode or worked with horses. However, his love for Greenbank Farm grew over his early years, when he would come up to the farm during the summer holidays. The farm had been left in trust by Major Dixon to his 3 children, Rosemary, Pat and John, his son. And in Dad's 20s, he bought his Uncle John's 1/3 of the farm. He was gifted his mother Rosemary's share in 2003, and he ended up buying the final third from Pat's son Peter by selling off 40 acres of the farm's land. The shippen behind me was used as a collection and milking parlour, and the structure has been in continuous decline since the BSE crisis in the mid-1990s, becoming unstable around 2004. When Mum and Dad and my sister Tracy and her husband moved onto the farm in 2007, the shippen was unsuitable for even storage due to the poor state of the roof. As many blue slate roof tiles as possible were reclaimed and used for repairs to other buildings around the farm. In the last few years, the cast iron roof light and asbestos parts of the roof have been removed. Repairs were not carried out to the shippen in the last 35 years due to more pressing repairs being needed around the farm, and it not being suitable for modern machinery, stabling or useful storage. It's believed that the shippen attached to the farmhouse, along with a similar shippen, were extended in the 1930s following the Milk Act of 1934 and the granting of milk licences. Both buildings have two cast iron pillars which support the original roof trusses and to which the short corrugated metal extended roof was attached. The floors in both shippens have central drainage channels and are concreted with identical inscribed diamond patterns, with the shippen across the yard having the initials and date handwritten in the floor of AD FG GS 1936. Thank you so much for watching this video, and your patience with my foray into vlogging is much appreciated. Tracy and Holly are now so natural in front of the camera, they make it seem easy. However, as some of you know, I have never been comfortable being filmed, and so this has certainly been a huge test for me, which, if I'm honest, I found really difficult to do, and it's nearly brought me to tears on a number of occasions. Anyway, I am going to persist, and Greenbank Farm Part 2 will be along in a few weeks' time. In this, I will cover the last 110 years since our great-great-grandfather purchased the farm at auction on the 9th of July 1914. All of us here at the farm are so grateful for all of you, our supporters, who have encouraged us to share our daily lives, the good, the bad and the ugly, the serenity, the beauty and the madness. The horses, sheep, dogs and cats, people and this historic farm will continue to share our story for as long as you want us to. Thank you again, and see you next time.